Mineshaft Miners, explosive stories by miner friends, adventure stories for kids. Written by Jeff Child, narrated by John H. Feskins. Introduction. This story is about 3 friends, and all of them are miners. They work at the mineshaft outside the village, but when something goes wrong, they are split up and have to figure out a way to remove the obstacles in front of them. The forces of nature are working against them, as well as evil lurking beneath the shadows. Will they fight the monsters and get through? Listen about it and find out. Chapter 1. Things We Need. Hi, my name is Ralph, and my 2 friends are Melvin and Garen. We are miners, and we have been doing this all our lives. In the mines, we find all kinds of valuable items, building blocks, if you will, that help us build our villages and survive in the bare lands. For example, we have come across granite blocks, diorite, andesite, coarse dirt, gold ore, coal ore, iron, and smooth sandstone. Some of these can be found in the mine shafts, and so day after day we go in with our pickaxes, barrels, and helmets, and pick at the rocky walls to get the most valuable items out. Melvin has a diamond pickaxe, Garen carries a stone pickaxe, and me? I have a golden pickaxe. It was given to me by my grandfather, and I keep it safe from thieves. It's a family heirloom, and I have used it for all those years now. I still remember the day everything went wrong, though. I was okay with my job, but I was ready for something else. I wanted to take a break, a huge break. And that day was the worst and the best day of my life, because it gave me the opportunity to do more. "Yo, Ralph, are you coming?" Garen asked. I was staring at the sunrise. Miners arrive early, you know. "Sure," I quickly said. "I'll be right there." And that's when it began. I ran over to the other 2 men and entered the mine shaft for the 5th time that week. "I wonder what we'll find this time," Melvin said. "Last week we only found a few polished andesite blocks." "You never know. That's the fun part about this job," Garen said. "I don't know, guys. I am ready for a break," I said. "Huh, a break? You'll never get a break. You can't get rich with this job, you know," Melvin said. "And why should you? Aren't you enjoying life? Say, how is that lovely wife of yours? And how are the kids?" "Oh, they're fine," I said. "I don't mind my life at all. I am just not finding too much fulfillment in my work. Hitting my pickaxe in the rocks each time entertains me only for so long." "Ha ha! I know what you mean," Garen said. "The other day, I was still carving rocks in my sleep. My wife patted me on the back, and I almost elbowed her in the face as I woke up." "But what are you worried about, Ralph?" Melvin said. "Where would you go?" "Here," I said, holding a postcard of some tropical beach resort in front of me. "Wow, that looks like a nice vacation spot, but how could we ever afford that?" "I don't know. Maybe I'll find out someday. Let's get to work. I just wanted to let you know what was on my mind." "Sure, man. Don't stop dreaming. It's all good." With those words, we picked up a tool and started chipping away some rocky walls. It was heavy work, just like all the other days, but it was a good exercise to build some muscle, and sometimes we were lucky enough to find some valuable resources. We just didn't realize yet how long the day would be this time. Chapter 2. Blocked. I was having some fun. It wasn't as terrible as I thought it would be. The air was cool, and the sweat on my body was bearable. With every hit, I felt my biceps tense up, and I heard the compliments in the back of my mind that my wife made. "You're so strong and muscled," she had mentioned a few times. "I like it." It put a smile on my face. That's right, I was a strong guy. Nothing wrong with that. Perhaps it was a better choice than being at the library all day studying some kind of science or some other nonsense. This was a workout. And then it happened. Something got miscalculated, or something. "Hey, Garen," Melvin said. "Don't chop any further over there. It looks very unstable. If you cut that down, the whole mine shaft will collapse." Oh, don't be such a dramatic, panicky, anxious, whatever. It will be okay. Besides, I think there is a lot of good stuff behind that stalagmite over there. That was Garen's answer. I didn't know what to think, though. It looked a little unstable, but we had seen shapes like that in the mineshaft before. It was nothing new. What do you think, Ralph? Melvin asked. Oh, great. Now I had to decide. And if something went wrong, it would all be my fault, right? I hated this. It happened all the time. Melvin and Garen weren't always on the same page, and whenever they disagreed, they asked me to make the final decision. And in all the years I had worked at the mineshaft, this day proved again that nothing had changed. Fortunately, though, I had always gone with my gut feeling and had made the correct decisions. I had years of experience, and I wasn't going to let my ego get in the way. It doesn't look stable enough, Garen. Sorry. Sometimes you're right, but I think I have to give it to Melvin this time. It would be better to mine in the other tunnel. Garen was upset. You're just saying that because you're afraid, he said. No, that's not it. Look at this thing. Chop it over and the ceiling won't hold. I don't believe you, Garen said. And I think we can only get through if we get rid of this stalagmite holding it up. Besides, we came all this way, and now you want to go to a different tunnel? Then all the work we did in the past few hours would have been in vain. No, I'm not going to let that happen. Watch me. He swung his pickaxe back. No! I yelled, but it was too late. Garen swung his pickaxe forward and chopped down the stalagmite. Boom, 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 boom. The whole mineshaft shook. The ceiling started collapsing. Garen was wrong. It was too risky, and now it was too late. Let's go, Garen yelled, running towards the exit. No, you'll be crushed, I shouted, holding him back. Let go of me, Garen said. Then the tunnel collapsed in front of him. I was holding on to him tightly, knowing that if he would have taken any more steps, he would have been pulverized by the broken ceiling. He looked at me angrily. This is all your fault, he said. Look, we're stuck. Now how are we going to get home? My fault? If I recall correctly, you were the one who was stuck on destroying that stalagmite. I advised against it, remember? Well, let's not play the blame game. It doesn't matter. Silly Garen, always trying to come up with excuses. He was a hard worker, and I appreciated him a lot, but sometimes he would drive me nuts with his way of rationalizing everything he did. But he was right. We were definitely stuck, and we didn't see a way out. Luckily, we had our flashlights, and the lights on our helmets worked, but besides those, it was completely obscure. We looked around us. We were able to keep going through the tunnel, but not back. So whether or not the other side of the tunnel would lead us to freedom was the million-dollar question. Chapter 3. Pointless. Melvin, can you hear us? I yelled. I can hear you guys. Just hang in there. I think I might have some dynamite. I can have it blow up and get you out. Okay, hold on, I said. Garen, we have to stand back. Melvin's going to blow up the boulders in front of us. Sure, Garen said. Let's blow this thing up. Sometimes I thought he was born without fear. He took a lot more risks than we did, and he didn't always listen to us. Melvin went back and attached the dynamite. It took a few minutes before he got back, and another few to install everything. Get ready, guys. This thing is going to be a big boom. Okay, we're far enough, I think, I yelled back. Go ahead. I'm going to count to 3, Melvin shouted. 1, 2, 3. Boom! Something blew up, that was for sure. But not the wall that was in our way. It was still there. It shook a little, but it was as if the dynamite wasn't strong enough. We coughed because of the dust in the air. What happened? I asked. It wasn't effective at all, Melvin said on the other side. It just blew a few small rocks away. The wall is too thick. I'm going to try again. Stand back, please. Ready whenever you are, I yelled. Okay, here we go again. 1, 2, 3. Boom! Again, the earth shook a little, but it seemed useless. We couldn't get out. We had to think of something else.
Let's just explore the other side of the tunnel, Garen suggested. I know there is something of value there. I have a hunch.
Really? Just like you had a good feeling about taking down the stalagmite? I asked sarcastically.
Oh, don't you dare start with me. There's got to be something in there. We have flashlights. Let's just take a look.
Fine, I'll let Melvin know. I walked towards the boulders that were in our way and yelled, Hey Melvin, we're going to explore the tunnels, okay?
Sounds good to me. I have a plan to get you out of there. Don't worry, I'll be back in no time.
Okay, Garen, let's see what's out there. Chapter 4: Explosive Monsters. As Garen and I ventured through the other side of the tunnel, Melvin had an insane idea. I learned about what he went through later and allowed him to write in my diary what happened at that moment.
This is Melvin. I am writing the account of my adventure after I noticed the dynamite did nothing. I was fed up with that stuff. I had been for years. We needed something stronger, something heavier. Dynamite wasn't going to cut it. So I ran out and went to the fields where I could find explosive monsters. Just in case you haven't heard of those crawling creatures, they explode big time, boom in your face stuff. And their explosions are powerful. Therefore, I figured that all I had to do was to have one come into the mine and explode near the boulders that were blocking their path. But how? They wouldn't just follow me. You can't just go to an explosive monster and say, Hey, monster, can you help me out and explode in the mine over there? No, I had to think of a trick to lure them there. I went to the fields outside of town, way outside of our hometown. If they wouldn't be so far away, the villagers would have probably taken care of them anyway. These creepy monster things, or whatever they were, just hung out on the fields night and day. Weird. But who cares? I was going to get one to follow me. I ran to the field and saw some of them stand there, not really reacting to my presence. I didn't know what to say. Now what? Then I thought of the only thing I could say. The monsters are there! Can you help me out and explode in the mine over there? Ironic. I didn't think it would work, but it did. They didn't talk or say, sure. No, they dashed at me. Wah! I screamed. I ran as fast as I could, faster than my legs could carry me. So fast I didn't think I had any legs left anymore, actually. I looked back and to my horror, I noticed a dozen green monsters following me to the mine. They were all running after me with those crazy paws they use to move themselves. I ran and ran, and when I arrived at the mine, I jumped aside. Without thinking, they sped forward and missed me, ending up in the mine all at the same time. Boom! It was the biggest explosion I had ever seen in my life. Hopefully it didn't harm my friends, but as I saw the dust disappear and the vapors of smoke rise after the humongous explosion, I noticed I blew up half the mine shaft. Whoops. Chapter 5: The Most Valuable One. Ralph here. This was before the explosion. While Melvin was implementing his crazy plans, we were slowly exploring the cave with our flashlights. It was pretty dark, but it was easy to see in the areas where we shone our lights. Say, Ralph, Garen started, how did you get this job anyway? My grandfather did it, then my dad did it, and so what else could I do? I said. How about you? Oh, I wanted to be a miner all my life. I studied materials when I was young. I was very interested in all the different blocks and resources. And when my dad showed me some dynamite, man, I was sold. It was awesome. I didn't want to do anything else. So this is your dream come true, huh? I asked. You betcha. It's amazing just to explore all of these new territories and empty mines and caves. I don't know about you, but I feel alive. Like every day is a new adventure. I had never looked at it that way. I guess there was some truth in that. Garen was right.
Perhaps if I could find a new sparkle of passion in my work and enjoy some of the things we did a little more, I wouldn't be stuck on dreaming about some tropical paradise. I could actually learn from this stubborn guy. "Hey, what's that?" I suddenly asked.
What? What?
"Nothing." "Gotcha. I didn't see anything, doofus."
No, I think there really is something,
Garen said. "Huh? The thing I said that wasn't true just to joke around turned out to be true after all? Strange."
Oh, I thought that you were joking about the fact that you were joking,
Garen said as he went closer to the shining object.
This is great. Look at this.
"What is it?" I asked.
You haven't heard of these?
He asked. "No."
It's a bottle o' enchanting. You can sell these things for anywhere between 3 and 11 emeralds each. And look how many we bumped into.
He shone his light into a dark corner, and the bottle's glass reflected his flashlight. There were at least 100 bottles. It was as if someone had stacked them there, or lost them. It was a mystery, but at the same time, I didn't mind taking them. "Wow, let's put them into the bags over there," I said. "If we get out of the mine shaft, we can become rich."
Rich,
Garen repeated enthusiastically while bending over and picking them up. We both put them in the bags and started carrying them with us. It was as simple as that. Chapter 6. The River. We moved on to the end of the tunnel and saw a light. Nice, this was our way out. But what was that sound? We heard something getting louder and louder.
I think there is a river underneath here,
Garen said. Sounds like it. Did you know that?
No. Strange that I never noticed that, although we are pretty far away from our original spot, so it makes sense.
Well, let's check it out. We came closer and saw an opening with a steady stream emerging into some kind of waterfall. "Whoa, do you see how far that goes?" I asked.
No, I can't see anything. I don't know what to do.
We stared at it for several minutes, trying to decide if we wanted to take the bags with the bottles and just jump into it, or try a different route. But then something happened. We heard an explosion. Okay, we heard 2 explosions before, but this one was louder and bigger than the other ones. It was huge and it hurt our ears. Boom! All sounds afterwards seemed to be muffled, as our ears were still ringing and we couldn't hear anything. It was as if we were deaf. We tried to yell and say something, but all we noticed was the other's mouth moving. No sound. After about a minute or two, our hearing came somewhat back. "What was that?" I asked.
Must be Melvin,
Garen said. "Has he gone crazy?"
I don't know, but it looks like things are getting even scarier down here. Look, the ceiling is collapsing again. That was a major explosion, man.
"What shall we do?" I asked.
Let's jump down into the river, Garen suggested.
"Really? But we don't even know where it goes. We could die. What if we hit a sharp rock or something?"
We could die here, too. It's just a matter of time before we get crushed. Let's just go for it. Don't think. Just follow me and jump!
With those words echoing through the mineshaft, Garen held onto the bags and jumped down into the river. I looked backwards. He was right. The mineshaft was collapsing. I had to do it. I closed my eyes, took a deep breath, then opened them again, and jumped after him. Chapter 7. Escaping. When I landed in the water, I immediately felt better. And even though I couldn't breathe yet, I had to hold my breath, of course. I was relieved that I hadn't hit a rock or something. I held onto the bags tightly, making sure we wouldn't lose our precious treasure. Then I swam up and reached above the surface.
There you are,
Garen said.
Good job. Now we just have to go with the flow and head over there.
He pointed to the right, and I saw an opening in the cave we ended up in. Sounds good. Let's go, I said, and we kept swimming. It took a long time since it appeared closer than it was, but eventually we reached the end and ended up in the bigger part of the river. It was beautiful. The river was flowing through meadow fields with trees and bushes everywhere. Finally, we were able to see the sunlight. We had escaped the rocky prison that held us captive, and now we were swimming in the water.
"We made it, Garen!" I exclaimed happily. "Yes, and we're going to be well off financially, too. Let's go over there."
We climbed out of the river and looked at each other. We were soaked, but we both had the bags with magical bottles in them. After a 1-hour hike around the mountain, we met up with Melvin. "What did you do?" we asked. "That was the biggest boom we ever heard."
"Those green monsters," was his answer.
Oh. We understood immediately and started laughing. What a weirdo. He just got a bunch of explosive monsters to follow him? Wow, that's commitment.
"It was awesome," Garen said. "We should do it again sometime."
"And guess what we found in there?" I said. I showed him the bag with bottles o' enchanting. His eyes got bigger and a smile appeared on his face. We discussed how to split up the treasure and divided it between the three of us. When I came home and told my wife about it, she was ecstatic. We celebrated that night. The next day, I already found someone who would buy the bottles for a high price. Immediately after that, we booked a vacation to a world-class beach resort, something we had always wanted. Chapter 8. Holiday. There we were, at a utopia beyond our dreams. We took a boat to a deserted island and were sunbathing in our swimsuits, just my wife and I. The kids were staying at one of my brother's homes who volunteered to babysit them. This was the life. As I took a sip of my tropical drink, I asked my wife what she thought we should do with the rest of the money. "I don't know," she said honestly. "Perhaps we can buy a bigger house and have more children?" "You want more than the 3 we already have? How many?" "Oh, let's just start with 6 or 7. "What? That's a lot of kids." "Yes, but if they all look like you, they will be super cute," she said with a smile. I didn't know what to say to that, but another guy who had ended up on the same beach came over and commented on it. "If you can afford it, doesn't sound like a bad idea, you two. I have 5 children myself." "And what made you be able to afford that, as well as a luxurious vacation like this one?" I asked. "Well, I was a village clerk," the guy said. "I had a bunch of bottles o' enchanting stacked up in an old mine shaft somewhere. It used to be safe, and I thought I could just come back after a decade or 2 and get them for my retirement plan." I looked at my wife. "And then what?" I asked. "Some giant stalagmite had grown in front of it. It was blocking my way, so I couldn't get to it. Anyway, it doesn't matter, because after that, I went into the oil trade and made tons more money. It makes me wonder what happened to the bottles, though." I swallowed and smiled. Then I leaned over to my wife and asked quietly, "Shall we tell him?" "I don't think he needs to know," my wife said. "He left them there, so they're not his anymore." "Okay, I won't tell," I whispered. "What was that?" the guy asked. "Oh, nothing," I said. "I just worked in a mine shaft. What a coincidence, right?" "Really? Wow, life is full of surprises," he said. And with that, we drank another sip of our tropical cocktail. The end. This has been Mineshaft Miners, explosive stories by miner friends, adventure stories for kids. Written by Jeff Child, narrated by John H. Feskins. Copyright 2017 by Jeff Child. Production copyright 2017 by Jeff Child.